Okay, I guess we're live here on YouTube now. What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's great. Today we're going to be talking about the mask of masculinity, what it means to hide who we really are, and how to come out of the shadow and be accountable for our actions, to build personal responsibility and create ultimately an incredible life and become the man who you are meant to become, who you desire to become. So I'm going to start off with two driving forces for us men. These are two big driving forces, and any man out there I know will be able to relate to this. The first one is men are driven to two socially acceptable forces, two groups of people that we want to be socially accepted to. This is a general statement. One, we want to be attractive to the sex that we're attracted to. So for heterosexual men, this would be, I want to be attractive to women. For gay men, this would be, I want to be attractive to other men. Okay, so we want to be attractive to the sex that we're attracted to, and we want to be respected by men. Now, this is a big one. So most of us grew up around men where we're in these circles where we want to be respected by the men around us, which is a normal desire. I still want to be respected by the men that I'm with. But oftentimes, for most of us, we grew up in a culture and groups of men where the socially acceptable behaviors and viewpoints are actually what I could call unhealthy. So for example, I grew up in the hockey space, and when you're in a hockey space, you talk a lot about demeaning women. You talk a lot about dominating women. That's kind of the energy. Women are seen as less than in some ways. They're seen as objects. And that vocabulary and way of viewing women kind of gets trained into you as a man. And if you want to stand up for a woman, or if you want to share what you feel or be a little bit vulnerable or sensitive with what you feel, share an emotion you have, you're rejected from the group. You're not accepted in that group. And because of that, we learn to suppress those parts of ourselves that's vulnerable or sensitive. And many guys that are in sports, football, hockey, you'll be able to relate to this easy. And so if these are the two of the main forces that drive us, what does it cause? So I ask you, who did you have to be attractive to women? What do you believe women find attractive? What parts of yourself do you not show to women? What parts of yourself do you not show around men? If you're in a group of men, when do you want to speak up or share an opinion, but you don't because you don't want to be rejected by that group? In what situations does this happen? Okay, so I invite you to think about that, because the parts of ourselves that we don't accept, that we don't want to face or feel, this is what's called the shadow. The shadow are the parts of you that you have not faced, that you've relegated to your unconscious because you don't want to be conscious of them, because you've learned to not be conscious of them. You've learned that this is a part of me that I can't be with, and so you try to push it away, not realizing that you can't push that away. You have to accept all parts of you because you're you. You can't you can't get away from yourself. We like to think we can, and so we keep it out of our conscious attention, and we think that we're helping ourselves, but really we're just pushing it deeper. And whatever gets repressed comes back stronger. Every time we push something away, it gets strengthened. And so if you're pushing away the angry part of yourself, well, then that anger is going to bubble up and you're going to let it out on somebody else, most likely. Or you push away the part of yourself that's very assertive, and so when you go approach women, you don't gain their respect because you're not confident whatsoever. You're just kind of this meek, weak, type man who can't be as strong and say what he wants, which is very attractive to anybody, especially women. And so there's these parts of you that you've relegated to your shadow, and in order to become the man you truly want to be and live the life that man lives, well, God damn it, you got to learn to face your shadow, which means facing some uncomfortable feelings. Carl Jung, the guy who is sort of the father of these words of facing the shadow, the unconscious, the collective unconscious, he kind of got some help from Freud on that one. But he talks about how you have to face and feel these parts of yourself. You have to face and feel the parts of yourself that you've relegated to the shadow, or that society has imposed on you as a young man, young boy, that's caused you to relegate these parts to a shadow. And you have to bring these parts back. You gotta bring them back into your conscious awareness so that you can heal them. Because the way to heal the shadow is to face it and to feel it. When you face it, when you feel the pain of whatever it is, like I'll give you an example. Say you have repressed anger and you let that anger bubble up and come out in a safe context. You let the rage out. There's a space where that rage is held and seen. Well, now that part has been seen, it's been held, and so it's no longer running your life as much. The power of this repressed anger goes away. Or what's another example I could give you? Let me give you an example from my own life. So what's something I've repressed? So I think for me, I've repressed the assertive part of myself in my life. I was kind of taught to be a good boy, a nice guy. I was raised primarily by a single mother, And so I had this feminine energy raising me, and she wasn't very assertive herself. And so I kind of learned that for me to be acceptable by my primary caregiver, I have to push away this assertive masculine quality, which is a very masculine quality that arguably has been repressed by the feminist movement, by society. We kind of get afraid of this aggressive, assertive nature. And, in some ways for good reason, because I think it's not hard to tell that the masculine has repressed the feminine for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And now we kind of fear this aggression, this aggression that started wars, this violence towards women, this aggressive masculine quality that has hurt us, and yet has some healthy benefits, yet is also an amazing quality. It's okay to be assertive. In fact, it can be very attractive to other women to be assertive. It's attractive to work with someone who's assertive, who's confident, who can make decisions, who can act with decisiveness, who can say the truth and not bullshit around the truth. And there's a way to do that without being harmful to others. There's a way to do that from a place of love, from a place of service. But we kind of shit on the whole assertiveness thing. When we see a man get really strong and assertive, we can often get fearful within ourselves. And so we can shame him or try to bring him back down to being more polite or being a nice guy, or we just reject him for that, when really it can be a great quality. So these are some examples of how the shadow comes up for us men, how parts of our masculinity have been repressed. Okay? So how to overcome it? It's to face it. It's to answer some of these questions. Is what parts of yourself have you shut down? Who did you have to be for your mother or for your father? Who did you have to be for them? What parts of yourself did you let go of? What parts of yourself, when they come up, that you don't like, that you wish weren't there? Right? These are the questions you got to start answering. And I invite you to take time to answer them. Okay, so this is kind of what's happening. And unfortunately, we live in a society where this is how most male friendships go. They're very on the surface. There's not much depth to them, and that lack of depth causes us to not become who we can be. And so 3 qualities in a man that you probably want to look for if you're going to create a male friendship. The first is you want to find a friend who can keep you accountable, who can challenge you, who won't accept your own status quo, who won't put up with your bullshit excuses or complaints. The second quality you want in a man is someone who has direction, who has a focus. Because if you're around a man who has a focus, well, then you're going to become a bit more focused. But if you're around a man who's distracted, then you're going to become distracted yourself. So who you spend your time with is who you become. And most of us, we're in these circles of men where we are reinforced for our weakness, where we're reinforced for our complaints, because many men don't have that assertive quality to say, hey, I think you're bullshitting yourself right now. And I challenge you to look at this. And then actually have the guts to look at that. And be held in that space and know that that friend isn't there to shame you, but they're coming from a place of challenging you, right? And when someone's focused, when someone's has a direction or a purpose, you pick up some of that energy, you pick up that focus, that direction. And as you do that, you become more of who you can be, because you're channeling your energy into one thing as opposed to being distracted, which is super valuable and is a masculine quality, to have direction, to have focus. That's a masculine quality, where the feminine energy seems to be more chaotic, less structured. It seems to be a bit more feeling, more flowy, more wild, where the masculine energy is very direct, very clear. And me as a masculine male, even just talking about it feels good for me to talk about it. I like talking about that feeling of direction, of focus, of clarity. Feels good. Last quality I think you want to have in a man is a man who can go deep with you. A man who can hold the space for your emotional baggage. A man who can hold the space for the challenges that you're going through, the stressors in your life. So if a friend comes to you and says, I've been really struggling with porn lately. I hate that I do it, but for some reason I can't stop it. Or a man that comes to you and says, I've been smoking a lot of weed lately and I've been drinking alcohol and I want to stop it, but for some reason I keep reaching for the bottle. Or, my finances suck and I hate that and I don't know what to do and I'm scared and I'm confused of what to do. You need to be able to hold that as a friend, to be non-judgmental, to be able to breathe into that and just keep your feet planted and hold that conversation. And if you're in a relationship, well, then you know very well that these tough conversations can come up. And many of you, by the way, avoid these tough conversations. And I did that in my past relationship. I would avoid tough conversations because I didn't want the fight. I didn't want the confrontation. I didn't want to have to potentially lose love. That was an unconscious fear of mine. And so you want to have a friend that can have those conversations, who can confront you a little bit. And it's all in love and it's all in truth and it's beautiful. So to review what we talked about today, we strive to be, many of us relegate parts of ourselves into our unconscious because we want to be attracted to women and respected by men. To overcome the parts of ourselves that we relegated to our shadow, to face the shadow, to be in the darkness, to feel that pain, to face the truth of how we've been living our life and why we've been doing it, is to heal the shadow. And so as you start to do this, you're going to start to become more integrated, more whole, more free, more of that authentic self comes forward. You're more connected. You feel more courage. You feel more energy for life. You have more direction, more confidence. And it's because you're not being driven by these unconscious things anymore. Your emotions are less volatile. You're a bit more grounded and centered in who you are, more authentic. You can speak your truth more. Whew, it's a great feeling. And lastly, the 3 qualities that you want to have in a friend, and these are just 3, there's many qualities, but these are 3 that I thought of. One is you want to be accountable. A friend that can keep you accountable, that can challenge you. You want to have that as a friend. You want to have a friend who has direction and focus, and you want to have a friend who can go deep with you. So that's it for today. I hope this was valuable for you guys. And you can comment below your biggest takeaways and anything else that you learned that you'd like to reflect on and share. And if you have any ideas for a video I should do next, just drop it in the comments below, and I will do my best to make a video about that. Thank you everyone for watching. And until next time, brother, live a life that's true to you. Peace.